I'm a grandmother again. This time with a little baby boy named Liam. So I now have 3 granddaughters and a grandson, and then 3 grandsons, and then a grandson and a granddaughter, and 3 granddaughters. So I have that all up.
That was fast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been busy.
Yeah. Well, not really.
Liam is William in Irish.
Yes, it is. And I don't know why he chose that, but it's lovely and it fits him. Thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing with us. And with that, call this meeting LCCC Board of Trustees to order. And I do believe we have a couple of candidates who are running for office. And I don't think it's out of order to have those folks if they would like to introduce themselves. And we appreciate your being here this evening. So I believe the gentleman to the back, if you would stand and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am Sleater C. Dover. I am ex-director of YDOT, ex-director of the State Bar, a lot of X's. I look forward to hopefully being a member of this particular board. My 2nd time here. I am trying to get educated.
Thank you for coming. And we have another candidate, I believe.
I am Jess Ketchum. I'm a senior budget analyst in the state of Wyoming. Prior to that, I was an auditor, and I used to work for Wells Fargo. Don't hold that against me.
Mr. Chair, there are 2 more.
And 3, actually, Ryan is back here.
Okay, we'll catch. Were you through, Jeff?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And then over here.
I'm Rick Jansen. I'm a retired Laramie firefighter, and I currently work for the State Health Department.
Okay. And one more. Yes.
I'm Bob Salazar. I'm a retired Laramie County School District teacher from East High School, Go East. And also I was an adjunct instructor here as well as part of that concurrent enrollment process. And a former engineer before that in the telecommunications and defense contracting work. So
I won't hold it against you, but go Central. I taught there.
that's central, but I taught it east. So.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Ryan Lindsay is back here.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you. My name is Ryan Lindsay. I'm a registered nurse in town, and I graduated from the school in May, so looking forward to joining the board.
Mr. Chair, I happen to be a candidate as well. And I'll have to say that my education is not quite to the associate degree level yet. I thought I could make trustee 101 in about a year, but I'm still working on it. I think I may be in the, no, thank you. I may be in the trustee 201, so there's a lot of education. Thank you.
And
Wendy.
Wendy, oh, yes.
Wendy.
Hi, I'm Wendy Soto, and I am also a graduate of LCCC. I have a paralegal degree and also a general studies degree from the college, which encouraged me to go on and get my bachelor's and master's from the university. And I'm really excited about the possibility of serving as a board member.
Very pleased to have you folks here. And I would simply say, I really respect your willingness to go out and try to serve the community by being on the board. And I'm sure based on what I heard a little bit about, you've already served your community in a number of other ways. So look forward to perhaps seeing you here at the meetings on a regular basis. So thank you. And also wanted to introduce a new member to this group this fall. And that is Garrett Wilkerson. And Wilkerson, did I say that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Garrett is ex officio, and he'll be giving a report later on when we have ex officio report from those people on the board in that status. And I just, for an agenda item, to inform you that the SGA report will come within that ex officio report. So on your agendas under item 3, you would see A1. A1 is actually going to occur when Garrett presents on ex officio later on in the agenda. Having said that, I would like to move on to the business of minutes. And I would entertain a motion regarding the minutes for July 20th for the work session.
I make a motion that we accept all minutes as written by our amazing secretary.
Second.
Then moved and seconded. Any discussion regarding those minutes? Not really discussion. I would simply comment and ask that I think it's a good idea that as we move through this fall and we're working on budget, that it's always a good idea to look back to that board work session, because there's some good things in those minutes that we spent some time discussing. So you might want to reference those. All those in favor of the minutes as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. At this time, take a report from Staff Senate, and that would be, I believe, Rhonda Priest.
Yes, thank you.
And congratulations, President Priest. That
Thank you.
kind of has an interesting ring to it.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, trustees, and thank you, Dr. Schaefer. Just a few things to report on. First is that this summer we had our Staff Senate retreat in August. We're able to meet off campus at Lions Park at the Kiwanis Community House. Had nearly 50 employees attend in either a morning or afternoon session. Had Dr. Schaefer speak to us during the lunch, and people were very anxious to hear what he had to say, just giving us some updates and opportunity for questions. We received positive feedback. Looking forward to doing that again next year. The topics that we chose to focus on were around communication, specifically Jan Felton, appreciative inquiry, and we looked at tolerance and respect and what that means to us on our campus. And then also had someone, Lucy Pauley, talk to us about mediation and handling conflict. So we thought those were appropriate and ones that we would be able to use both in our personal and professional lives. We also, as we started our new semester, we partnered with Faculty Senate and had a joint faculty and staff town hall meeting. We appreciate everybody that attended. We had a really good turnout for that, some really robust conversation, and it's something that I think people want to continue collaborating more between faculty and staff, which Rob and I are working very diligently towards. Dr. Schaefer and Trustee Erickson joined us for that, and we appreciate that very much. Also, Dr. Schaefer had homework when he left. We had a long list of questions that some of you may have seen that were posed because we were really wanting to get at what the concerns were for our faculty and our staff. And Dr. Schaefer actually responded to every single question and made that available to our faculty and staff. And if you haven't seen that, I would encourage you to take a look at that. So thank you very much. We have staff representation, I'm pleased to say, on our core initiative committees and college council. We had 2 people that were chosen for each of those responsibilities, but when we had our last meeting, someone volunteered to step aside so we could make sure that we had both a professional and a classified staff member represented on those committees, and we thought that was definitely the direction Staff Senate needed to go. So we'll continue to keep staff informed of the work that's being done on those committees. Anxious to see thank you, Dr. Mom, wherever there you are. We're seeing more participation from ACC as well. They participated this afternoon in a decision-making conversation we were having that I'll tell you about in just a moment, but also Lexi Hartley and Jamie McKeon are both involved and are representing ACC very well. So thank you for that. We also had 2 new members from facilities and maintenance. So we're starting to see slowly more participation from across campus, but it's imperative that we have participation on Staff Senate that represents all areas of our campuses and not just a few areas as it's been in the past. Sent a monthly bulletin to staff, which we'll continue to do monthly, hopefully to keep them more abreast. I know communication is a big thing for us this year, and so we're trying to do our part. We're also involved in we're a member of the Employee Survey Committee, along with Rob representing Faculty Senate and myself, Staff Senate. And I've been facilitating the decision-making and planning discussions with Tammy Mays, and we're excited to see how those conversations are going and look forward to bringing some ideas that we may be able to implement to help those scores go up in our next survey that we do in the spring. We will be hosting our new staff luncheon next Wednesday. We've invited all new staff that have joined us since we had our last luncheon at the beginning of spring semester. So this will be our second luncheon. We look forward to introducing them to Staff Senate, also getting to know other people on campus and helping them feel welcome and connected on our campus. We will continue with Unsung Heroes, which we implemented about a year ago. So every month we recognize a different area on campus, and we provide either a continental breakfast or some snacks in the afternoon, whatever works for that division. and to really acknowledge what they're doing. And we also write individual cards to each person in that division from Staff Senate. Lastly, we'll be resuming our monthly officers meeting with Dr. Schaefer next week. So look forward to that. And we've been meeting regularly with Tammy Mays and coordinating the messages that we communicate across campus and encouraging engagement as well. And that's something that we're doing, both Rob, myself, and Tammy. So look forward to helping things move forward in this upcoming year. So thank you.
Would you hold for questions?
Oh, do I get questions?
Yeah, we just might have.
President Priest?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Any trustees have any questions? I just have one.
What's that?
I'd like you to just tell us very briefly what area you come from. So we know a little bit about you.
Is the accent given, or what do you have?
Let me focus that here at the college. Where do you work? And yeah, the accent. We'd like to pin that down.
I tell people I'm from Southern Wyoming.
How far south?
Let's go to South Georgia, almost Florida. I've been in Wyoming since 2002. Been at the college since 2010 in different capacities. Started out in outreach and workforce development. Spent a couple of years over in student services in our career center. Moved back to outreach and workforce development last year. I'm the program manager for the Wyoming Certified Public Managers Program. Do case management for our Act Now short-term career training program. Teach adjunct in business, and do whatever else gets thrown my way. Decided I didn't have enough to do. I finished my master's in June and decided I might as well just become Staff Senate President because I had so much time on my hands. Okay?
I asked, didn't
You
I?
did.
Mr. Chair,
We have trustee here.
Mr. Chair, it is so delightful, Rhonda, your zeal. Seriously, welcome aboard. I know you've been around for a while, but welcome aboard.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it very much.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Thank you.
At this time, Faculty Senate, and I believe Rob McNabb. Had the pleasure of finding out Rob McNabb was doing this earlier this summer. It's good to see you here now that we're underway this fall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, trustees, and Dr. Schaefer. A lot of this is going to be a lot shorter because Rhonda did take care of a lot of this for me, and thank you, Rhonda. It's been quite the introduction of a semester. We find faculty busy in all directions. One of our things that we're concentrating on to build on what Rhonda has already said is that we are trying to open lines of communication between faculty, staff, and administrators to kind of break down some silos that might have developed. Business that has taken place with the Faculty Senate is we've brought online a new Faculty Senate appointee to the College Council, which is Michelle Albert. Also, a College Council elected at large is ACC's Bert Davis. Our communication efforts are appointees to the core work group, and their revenue and efficiencies committees. They have been preparing reports to all of faculty on what goes on in the meetings, and has given that atmosphere of open communication. Due to the busyness of those first few weeks of the semester, I have not received a lot of feedback, but what feedback I have received from that is positive. The faculty and staff town hall results, again, thank you, Dr. Schaefer and Trustee Erickson for attending that, and Dr. Schaefer's responses for that, which we were also provided to all of faculty and all of staff. Again, feedback was that I have had was positive. Also, all of our other committees that we have talked about with Rhonda in our meetings with HR, all of those things have promise, but again, it's very early and we'll see how those pan out. Very short report, but if there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
I'll have the same question. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well,
no accent.
The accent is guarded. It is. It disappeared after a long time living in Wyoming. In different capacities, I was here between the years 1990 and 1999. and then left for 4 years and came back between 2003 to the present. Originally from Texas, and early in my life, New Mexico is where I grew up, Albuquerque. Kind of found my way here when I joined the Air Force to see the world, and I got to see Wyoming. Not a bad thing. It's one of those places I've chosen to stay. I kind of like the area. And as I retired from the Air Force, I found opportunities here at LCCC, and I teach heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration in the career technical arena, also dabbling in technical math. And for the most part, I enjoy teaching very, very much. I find other things to do. I've, like Rhonda, I've just completed my Master's of Education with a focus on career technical leadership. And finding whatever other kind of things I can do to help the campus community.
Appreciate that. Any other questions for you, trustees? Thank you very much. Appreciate your report.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, if I could, I just want to point out, both with Rob and Rhonda taking the helm of their respective senates, I just want to point out that I've truly appreciated two things that they are both doing. The first is their efforts to work together on behalf of all faculty and staff of the college, I think has been refreshing. And we've already seen that helping those cross communication lines that are sometimes separated just because of the work that we do. And so they've done a wonderful job in helping us really bring faculty and staff together around common issues and common ideas, while also respecting their individual perspectives and work. The other thing is their positive approach. You know, both Rhonda and Rob have been working, as they said, with Executive Director Mays on a solutions-based inquiry into how we improve and strengthen employee satisfaction at LCCC. And the fact that they're looking for solutions, looking for ways to really build upon what's great here and make it better, I think is refreshing and very much appreciated. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to let you know that's my perspective of your two Senate leaders, and make sure I went on the record by thanking them for what they've done thus far.
Thank you, Dr. Schaefer. Appreciate that. At this time, LCCEA, Megan Kelly. Did I see Megan here?
Megan's not here.
No. Okay. Moving on then, we look forward to hearing from Dr. Schaefer and Vice President Rick Johnson and the folks from Hathaway and Kuntz and Kaiser Investments regarding approval of bond resolution. And at this time, turn it over to Dr. Schaefer to move us forward.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm actually going to ask Mr. Bishop to kind of take the helm on this one. You've heard us discussing the refinancing of the 2009 bond series. We're at that juncture now where we want to move forward with that. And I know Todd will share some of the high-level analyses of the sale, the placement, as well as the documents and the work that's before you in regards to lease arrangements with the LCCC Building Authority. So, Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, members of the board. This is a follow-up meeting or a follow-up presentation to our August meeting in regards to the refinancing of your Series 2009 lease revenue bonds. It's a pleasure to come back tonight and provide you with an update in the progress that we've made. After our meeting in August, we went ahead and mailed out what we call a private placement memorandum to the various banks within the community to gauge their interest as to the purchase of some of the 2016 refunding revenue bonds. And I'm very pleased to report that all of the proposed $4,675,000 in bonds have been privately placed with those local institutions. We received a total of 5 different institutions responded to our request for proposals. It was a very competitive. You may recall back in August, we were looking at an average interest rate of about 1.95%. This evening, given your approval of this refinancing, we're looking at locking in an average interest rate of 1.62% on the bonds. So went much better than we could even have hoped for in that response. So the new refunding bonds, as we mentioned, are going to be privately placed with these institutions. Again, at an average rate of about 1.62%. This compares very favorably with the average rate on the 2009 bonds, which of course was a little over 6% on the average at that time. So what we're looking at now is after the issuance costs, we're going to be receiving over $213,000 in net debt service savings, significantly better than about the 95 that we were looking at there back in August, and primarily due to the lower rate that we received from the banks. The obvious benefit, of course, from refinancing that debt is the interest dollar savings, but there is some additional benefits to the college that Rick Johnson had discussed at that meeting. We're going to be able to refinance this debt and bring in those debt service payments such that they're going to be equal to or maybe even less than the student service fees that are coming in to make the payments on those bonds. So again, very positive. The transaction, given your approval this evening and passage of the resolution authorizing issuance of the bonds, we're looking at a closing on October 14th, at which time we'll receive the proceeds from the new bonds. Those monies will be set aside in escrow to make the final debt service payments on those 2009 Build America bonds. So just want to give you a very high level view of the refinancing. Went very well. Achieved savings greater than what we had even anticipated before. All of the bonds were spoken for and placed here locally. Those bonds, the institutions who ended up submitting the most favorable rates, there were 4 institutions that ended up with those: Wyoming Bank and Trust, Platte Valley Bank, and A&B Bank were the 3 purchasers of the bonds. And Mr. Chairman, I would be glad to answer any questions or provide additional information if anyone has.
Trustees, questions?
I have a couple questions. One is a clarification, and you indicated earlier on, not during the meeting, but on page 4 of the resolution, the 3rd paragraph, the first time the whereas the outstanding series 2009 bonds maturing on June 1, 2017. That kind of, when I first looked at that, it kind of threw me for a loop because the bonds currently are what, through 2022?
Correct.
Correct. And so could you clarify that statement for us?
You bet. Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Erickson's question, the outstanding Series 2009 bonds, that paragraph to which you're referring talks about the bonds that are maturing on June 1, 2017 and thereafter. So it's encompassing not only that June 1, 2017 payment, but every principal payment that's made on the subsequent Junes through and including June 1st of 2022. And when you add all of those maturity dates, those principal amounts together, that's how we come up with the $4,875,000 that makes up the current outstanding 2009
Thank you.
bonds.
I have a second question. If the college wishes to pay off these bonds earlier, are we able to do that?
Mr. Chairman, through you, during the last meeting, I believe it was you that made it clear we'd like to have a redemption feature on these bonds as well. So we have made this particular issue, the last maturity is callable on June 1 of 2021 at par, or excuse me, the June 1 of 2023 at par. So there's currently $1,025,000 that'll be maturing in that last maturity. So those would be able to be refinanced or paid off in advance of the scheduled maturity date.
Is there a motion regarding this?
Mr. Chair, I believe that it's important for us to read the whole resolution. And should I Mr. Chair, you want me in my
Yes.
motion to read the whole resolution?
Would appreciate it.
Okay, a resolution by the Laramie County Community College District, Wyoming, approving an amended and restated facilities lease agreement dated as of October 14, 2016, between the district and the Laramie County Community College Building Authority, approving the execution and the delivery of an indenture of trust dated as of October 14, 2016, between the Building Authority and the Wyoming Bank and Trust, approving the issuance and sale of the refunding lease revenue bonds, Series 2016, by the Building Authority, approving the private placement memorandum for the bonds and the sale of the bonds at a private sale and other details related thereto. I make a motion that we approve that resolution.
I'll second that motion.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Before we vote, I would just like to comment that it's really wonderful that we have folks who keep an eye on this and allow us to, in this case, save not just the college, but actually provide funding which students might be able, because it's fees, to be used in other facets for those students. So the efficient use of those funds and knowing that we're saving those, I appreciate the work that you folks do for us and the vice president and others in keeping an eye on things like this. So thank you much for that effort.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Hearing none, the motion carries.
Thanks, Don.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. On behalf of Kaiser and Company, we appreciate the opportunity to continue to work with the college and look forward to doing so in the future. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Todd, before you go, can you just walk us through and remind us who and when and where for the closing? I know that'll be coordinated through Vice President Johnson's office, but maybe just for the record.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the building authority has already set up a separate date and time that was conducive with their time schedule. And I believe that we have some flexibility with the signatures of we can accommodate your schedules, I think is what I want to say there. So what I would suggest is I believe it's the chairman and the secretary are the ones that we're going to need to have for a pre-closing. We could get with Vicki and perhaps we can just schedule that time that is convenient for you.
Okay. Chris, we'll find a way, right? Okay.
Preferably before October 14th.
No, we can't find it.
Okay,
Thank you. Anything
Thanks,
else, Dr. Schicker?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Now we'll put a little more pressure on you because it's put you under the eyesight here. President's report, and it's always a pleasure to get these reports and find out what we're up to. And I would really emphasize that this first one, I shouldn't say first one here, but on the compensation classification study that Dr. Schaefer is going to talk about, I think it's really important to appreciate that this is something that I know members who've been on the board for a period of time and folks here at the college know this is something that we've needed to do, but we had a lot of work to do before we could get to the compensation study. And now we're to it. Unfortunately, there's some challenges in this time frame, but I just want you to realize, and I know most of you do, that this is really significant to get us into a position where we have a firm system and we're not trying to make things work without having some of the tools in place that we should have. So I really appreciate the efforts in this area. So Dr. Schaefer, and if you don't want to start with that one, you don't have to.
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Actually, I'm going to punt to Executive Director Mays, who's going to give you an update, and maybe Tammy, just an overview on the goals and the purpose of the study and sort of where we're at with that process thus far.
Yes, sir. I didn't bring all my notes, but Mr. Chairman and trustees, Again, we've gone through a competitive process to hire a consultant to help us with our compensation and classification here at the college. And our goals were in that draft policy that we came up with, where we would have internal equity. We would have a system that would be consistent and fair, and that that we could easily apply, and that was also easily updated. So we went through the competitive process and awarded the contract on the 1st of July. And last week we had the kickoff. The consultants were on site for 3 days, and we had 4 orientation sessions that were attended by 138 employees. We had 4 focus group sessions that were attended by 123 employees. So we were very pleased with the turnout and the participation. We got a lot of good feedback, a lot of good comments. So the next step was this week, where we sent out what's called a job assessment tool. It's an online form where employees fill out basically what their job duties are. We had a little bit of trouble with the firewall, and so we got that worked out. It was supposed to go out on Monday, but it went out today. So every employee is to get this online tool and fill out what their duties and responsibilities are. That window will be open for 2 weeks. And once that window is closed, then the supervisors will go in and review those job assessment tools. That phase is supposed to end around the end of October. And it will depend on how much participation we have. If we have to leave that window open longer than 2 weeks to get maximum participation, we will do that. We're still on track for a final presentation to the employees and to the board around the first week of December. With that, I'm open for questions.
Any questions?
No questions, just a comment. The Finance and Facilities Committee met with the consultants on the plan that Tammy just reiterated to us. I believe that was a very thorough review, about 60 minutes. And so they will be coming back to the board with their recommendations. I think they'll be coming to us maybe twice. At least. So I just wanted to point out that the F&F committee did have the opportunity to meet with the consultants. I personally was impressed with the caliber and the scope of this overall review that they're going to do for our campus.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you, Tammy. Appreciate that for the update. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, a few other quick updates just to let you know that we have relaunched the Vice President of Academic Affairs search. As you recall, we went through a search process last year. Towards the tail end of the spring, I failed that search, and we are now launching that search process back up. We are going to try an unconventional timeline and actually get this search conducted this fall and hopefully completed either right before or just after the holiday break. I can tell you that applications for the position are already starting to come in significant numbers. Mr. Chairman, I believe you are going to continue to serve as a trustee representative on that search committee, and so we'll make sure that we do our best to fit that within your service time on the board, and if we trickle over a little bit, I think we'll be okay there as well. But thank you for serving on that search committee. You should have in your materials, I guess it was probably the first formal printing of the LCCC performance report card. This is in some ways a useful tool for you, and in other ways a useful offering for me, because I was actually supposed to bring you an annual report at your September meeting, a comprehensive annual report. We do not have that completed, and I did not want to rush PR to get that done beforehand. But one of the key pieces of our performance or annual report will be a performance report. So what you have before you is essentially our report card. As you recall, over the past year, Anne Murray, our Director of Institutional Research, has come before the board and has described our KPIs, our key performance indicators, the different measures we look at and the things that we do. This report card essentially provides you an illustration of all of those measures that we look at on an annual basis that help us ascertain the overall health, if you will, of the organization. And so think of this as our dashboard. These are the things we monitor to see how the organization is running and where we need to focus our efforts. And it's a rich resource that I won't go through line by line, but you may want to spend some time with. When you get the annual report in October, there will be a much higher level summary of the overall performance, but much of that summary will be derived from the outcomes associated with your report card. So love for you to take it, look through it, and give some feedback on whether it's useful or it's not useful, if the format could be improved upon. We'll continue to produce something like this each year.
Comments? I have one question, and maybe you can kind of do it briefly. I have my perception, but I want to make sure it's the right one. We've got key performance indicators, but we also have efficiency indicators. And to me, the efficiency speaks more to dollars and how we're using those dollars and cents. So maybe you could just speak to performance indicators and efficiency indicators a little bit, so that as I look through this, I'm coming at it with the right perspective.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. A couple of things to keep in mind as you look at our report card. The first one, as you pointed out, Mr. Chairman, is we look at two types of indicator groupings. One are what we call effectiveness indicators. So those are the indicators of how effective we are at producing some result that we're intended to produce. And a simple thing to think about would be producing degrees and certificates for our fine students. Then we also have efficiency indicators, and those are the measures that we look at that tell us how efficiently we're doing our business. And you'll see things in there, as you recall, like faculty to student ratios, sections taught by full-time faculty, students' time to degree, cost to completion, the things that give us a sense of how efficiently we're doing reaching the intended outcomes. So that's the first thing, and they're broken down. Most of the effectiveness indicators are on the front page, and then you'll see where the efficiency indicators start on the second page. The other thing I want to point out is our report card is based on the philosophy of continuous improvement. And oftentimes individuals will look at the grades we receive and the things we're doing and say, well, how can that be? I remember one of our early iterations where we had a, I don't remember if it was a B for our graduation rate that was at 17%. And people said, well, how can 17% graduation rate be a B? What we're trying to track is improvement or progress on each of these things. And our grade is really reflective of the movement we have in a positive direction. Are we always where we want to be ultimately in terms of the outcomes? No, and you can see that in our benchmark comparators there in some cases. But what's important to remember, this is a continuous improvement report card. It tells us, are we moving in the right direction? Not necessarily, are we where we ultimately want to be?
I really appreciate that insight. It helps me as I look at this. There's to me, a phenomenal amount of information here that will take me some time to work through.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Couple of quick
Just
other.
a second, Trustee Erickson, did you?
Well, I can't help but also say, if you can make it a little more readable somehow. I mean, there's tons of information here, but
The first iteration we had, Trustee Erickson, was about like this with twice the pages. So we will work on readability.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple more things just real quick. You have a construction update, a standing update within your materials. I don't know if you have any questions about the construction projects and how they're playing out, but if you do have questions on the update, I'm happy to try to answer them, or perhaps Vice President Johnson. Seeing none, I thought that I would just give you a brief update on our core initiative. As you know from your last board meeting, we've really jumped in and have set the stage for a comprehensive review process to address the budget shortfalls that we know are upon us and certainly will have to be dealt with as we put together the FY18 budget. There's been considerable work. One that you heard referenced by your Senate presidents was the formation of our two committees on campus that are helping us with the identification of efficiency opportunities as well as revenue opportunities. I've been very impressed thus far with the ingenuity, initiative, and energy that these committees have put behind their work. And so we have a group of fine faculty and staff that are working with the campus community to identify viable opportunities for efficiency savings that will impact our budget. And they're out soliciting those ideas. And then also on the revenue side, a group that's working to identify opportunities for increasing revenue. And it's been quite rewarding just to watch the ownership that those individuals have taken over this work and really digging in, wanting to be a sincere part of the solution that we're looking for with our budget reduction exercise. The other track, if you remember, is program prioritization. And so we've been doing quite a bit of work, mostly behind the scenes on the academic program prioritization process. We just completed the program analysis matrix, which is essentially a collection of measures that give us a sense of program health, if you will. We need to augment that with some external measures for the identification of value, things like job placement, number of job opportunities, alignment with transfer. But that piece will be coming together, and then where we end up with those data will help start the conversation around academic prioritization. On the other side, the non-academic, or what we're calling functional area and function review, there's a lot more work going on there. In fact, if you were to walk through campus right now and ask people sort of what's consuming their time, it's this work. And they're going through considerable effort just to help articulate and identify what these functions are that they're responsible for. What are the ultimate goals or outcomes of those functions? Why do we have them? What are we trying to accomplish? How we measure that and how we do that. And while you think at the highest level, that makes it sound simple. You say, well, we do this, so this is what we do. It's much more complex than that, especially for an organization that hasn't necessarily looked at our service and support function areas with that same lens. But it's important that we do this prioritization process both on the academic and non-academic side, and we want to ensure that there's the same level of rigor and analysis on both sides. And so our staff are doing some heavy lifting, just trying to go through and really articulate and provide the information we need to do this analysis. And we're not done right now. They're just working on the effectiveness picture. We still have to go through and look at how we would assess efficiency for those areas, as well as the value or the impact that they have. So I guess the two most salient points I want to leave you with: one, we're progressing on a very tight timeline quickly through this, but making progress. And two, your faculty and staff are working hard to do this right and really make sure that we make the right decisions as we look at how we address the budget deficiency. So if you do get a chance to see some of the faculty and staff, thank them for the efforts that they're putting into this, because I know everybody is working on this at a time where there's lots of other work to be done as well. Mr. Chairman, unless there's other questions, that concludes my report.
Mr. Chair, before we go
Trustee
on with the agenda, we neglected to make an approval that goes along with the refinancing of our Series 2009 bonds. And that is the lease agreement that we have for the kitchen and dining hall facility. And it's obviously needs to be amended, and it's been circulated to us. So I make a motion to approve the amended and restated facilities lease agreement for the kitchen and dining hall facility.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you for picking that up, Trustee Erickson. Before we move on to the next item, I wanted to just comment in terms of what Dr. Schaefer had said. I think the realization that, if you think about people here at the college are trying to do the functions they've been asked to do. And on top of that, now they're doing a compensation study. They're doing this work in terms of trying to figure out how to be more efficient in saving money and how to generate revenue. It really is an appreciation that we have employees here that are really working hard to try to do the business of the college to benefit the students. And I, for one, would compliment them on the challenging situation they have, because remember, they're still everybody, even the staff folks are working to try to make sure the students are getting the quality experience that we expect our students to receive here. So I applaud them for the work that they're doing in terms of trying to find ways to enhance the organization. Thank you for working with them, and I appreciate their work, Dr. Schaefer. The next item is the campus master plan. And before I give that to Dr. Schaefer, I would like to emphasize that it's a plan. And I hearken back, and I think I said it at another board meeting once here, and I think it's still around. Someone said it somewhere. But a master plan we once had showed a golf course for the college way back in the late 70s, I think, somewhere in there. And people were saying, oh my goodness, a golf course, what are they going to do? It was part of, the process it went through and possibilities, things that might be done, just like a soccer field, because back then we did have a golf team. Not to say we needed a golf course, but it was something that was put out there. My point is it's a plan. It's not something that's concrete. So as we've watched the master plan that was put into effect and used it as a guide to get to the buildings and signage and different things on the campus, and as we work towards things on the ACC, remember, it's a plan. It's a tool we use to help guide us to where we would like to get to. And will it change? Absolutely. In most cases, there's always adjustments to that. So I really appreciate the work that's been done and look forward to passage of this updated master plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm going to take a stab at just summarizing anything that's changed to date. And then I may call on Vice President Johnson to fill in any gaps where I may have missed. So you've seen the near completed master plan in a variety of presentations over the summer and then here at your previous meetings. This is essentially the culminating draft. And I do want to say that while we're asking you to approve it tonight, there are probably, in fact, I know there's a handful of small grammatical things that we still need to correct before we do the final printing of the master plan. So I don't want to go through in any detail the things that you've heard previously, but I do just want to point out some of the things that have changed. One of the additions that is in this final version is the inclusion of the land that the college owns in Vitavu. I know, Mr. Chairman, you pointed out its absence, and we wanted to make sure that the master plan reflects that the college has that asset. And while the plan doesn't suggest anything specific with that land at this time, it sets the stage and ensures we have the inventory so folks know it's there as a resource and may be considered in future planning activities and even future educational activities. A couple of other things. One of the areas where we really wanted to help strengthen this, and I think Trustee Erickson made comments, was finding ways to summarize some of the detailed narrative that existed, especially in the planning areas around these neighborhood concepts. So if you go through the neighborhood concepts now, you will see overarching recommendations. There are 2 or 3 bullets on every one of those that really helps us summarize and focus in, okay, what specifically are they really suggesting as we look at the science building, the fine arts area, the Crossroads building. I think that's helped as well. In addition, the last iteration had probably too specific of recommendations. As you pointed out, Mr. Chairman, a master plan is intended to help us take the next step, whether that's the next step of planning or the next step of determining what facilities are we going to look at first. That's what the plan is intended to do. Because we've looked so closely at vacated spaces as a result of the new buildings, the planners and probably the staff even got in and were specific about let's use this room for this. And naturally, before we would make any of those specific changes, there's going to be subsequent planning that'll have to take effect. And so we really tried to make those recommendations a bit more general, if you will, with that. And then the remainder of the changes deal with inaccuracies in titling. I think in some of the graphics, our library was still referred to as the Instructional Resource Center. And so we tried to get those things updated. But essentially, those are the primary changes with this draft from the previous drafts that you've seen. Vice President Johnson, anything I missed or anything that you may want to add for the board?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the only other thing I can think of is updating of some maps. We have a new roadway down here by Flex Tech, so it's updated for that. The
Fine Arts Building, showing that in a different location as a possibility.
Correct. Yeah, thank you, Rick, for pointing that one out. The last draft you saw actually had the fine arts area, the addition of the fine arts assembly space, the auditorium space to the north of campus. When we added in the drawings for the planned library renovation, we quickly identified that that would crowd that area to the north. The more appropriate location, at least from a recommendation at the master plan level, would be to the south of the existing fine arts building at this point. So you'll see that represented in the master plan diagram as well. Again, recommendations as we would go into further planning that may or may not change.
Mr. Chair, there's a lot of additional substance in this from what we saw, which is good. This is what we want to see. And I know if Trustee Little were here, she would be asking about the fine arts, which we just heard about. And so there is a proposal in here for that fine arts addition to be south of the fine arts building. Also, I'd like to direct the board's attention to page 80, item F, boardroom and pre-function space. Not something I've been talking about, have I? But I'm pleased to see that it's in here. It would be, they're proposing that we consider down the road. This is down the road. This is not an immediate priority. It would be right adjacent to us in the hallway between the Union Pacific facility and our current boardroom, and to be attached to the north of that hallway. I'm very pleased to see that that's in there. Secondly, I have a request, and I know that the consultants did not address the remodeling of the physical education complex because it's kind of in flux, and it's moving along, and they decided that that wasn't something they were going to address at this point. But I wonder if we could have an addendum of some sort that would be attached to the master plan. And the last iteration that we received for the possibility of developing the multi-purpose room, if we could somehow put an addendum to this master plan, realizing that that's not part of this presentation that they've given us, but that it would be in and among these items.
Mr. Chairman, Trustee Erickson, I don't see any issue with that. And, if you want to modify the staff recommendation to include the approval of the plan with the addition of an addendum to recognize the recreation complex remodel, I think that would be appropriate. And I can certainly move forward with that into the final iteration.
I don't know if I need to have that in a motion. I have confidence that it would happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to please move that we do approve the master plan because we haven't done that yet.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor of the approval of the campus master plan, please say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And I appreciate the work that's been done on that. I know that's taken quite a bit of time, and I think the group that worked on this did a good job for us in laying down some guides for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize the effort that Vice President Johnson and some of his key staff really put into monitoring and managing this project. What I think we thought would be a relatively simple update to the master plan was a bit more comprehensive than what we thought. But I just want to go on the record of thanking Rick for the effort he put into it, because it did take a lot of his time to get us to this point.
Albany County campus classroom expansion, Dr. Schaefer and Dr. Malm.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll take a stab at this, and then Dr. Malm may want to add a few comments there. At your last meeting, you saw the level 1-2 plan for the classroom addition at the Albany County campus. Just as a quick refresher and for the minutes, the driving factor with this remodel is essentially unique space, and really driven from the need for additional science classrooms at the Albany County campus. So what this plan would do is actually add 2 classroom pods onto the existing building and remodel an existing art lab, I guess I can call it, to be to serve as a natural sciences lab, while also adding on in one of the new pods a multi-purpose wet lab, as well as a larger assembly and classroom space for that. And so that plan is before you tonight for your approval, and I'm also asking your approval to move forward with this project. And you'll see in my recommendation to you that I'm seeking authority of up to $975,000 for this project, which is close to the estimated cost in the level 1, level 2 plan. Those dollars are dollars we have on hand. They sit in a student fee fund balance that was has essentially built up as a result of the fees that Albany County campus students have paid over the years. And as we look at what would be the best use for those funds, we feel pretty strongly that turning them right back into instructional space for those students seems to make a whole lot of sense. And so with your approval tonight, then I would move this on to the Wyoming Community College Commission for their approval at their October meeting. And after that, we should be able to proceed. And I believe we were still looking at a fall of 2017 completion date. So Dr. Malm, anything I missed? Perfect.
I make a motion that we accept the Albany County campus classroom expansion.
I'll second.
Can I add some discussion here?
Yes.
The Finance and Facilities Committee did meet on this Albany County campus expansion proposal. It was thoroughly reviewed. Dr. Schaefer summarized it quite well. I think that one part of it that we, as a board, at the last meeting when we reviewed this, there were 2 concepts, concept 1 and concept 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it's concept 2 that they're proposing to go forward, which, if we recall, has the on the wings of the building a couple little jets that come out to give a little extra room. So it's the concept 2 that we're approving.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments on this?
Mr. Chairman, is it correctly identified in then page 1991 in the master plan, or is that concept 1? I'm just trying to.
Mr. Chairman, Trustee Cato, that actually is correctly represented as I understand it. What Trustee Erickson is referring to are the actual architectural treatments to the design of it. So option 1, if you remember, the design had much more of a box square look to it. Option 2 had the curved angles on the top. But I believe essentially the functional layout and things are identical on the inside.
I think, again, it's good in F&F, the Finance Facilities Committee really looked at this from the standpoint too, that these are funds that are in Albany County. Laramie County is not expending, or LCCC is not expending funds from LCCC Laramie County. Those are Albany County funds. And it's just, we always have to make sure that we don't do that. But I just want to emphasize that's the case so that there's not some mistaken perception of that. Any other issues on that one? You can let it go now, right?
Do we have to vote?
We have to vote. Yeah, I was hoping someone.
Just wanted to remind you.
There's the question. All those in favor of the motion for Albany County campus classroom expansion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. You got me off the hook there.
Mr. Chair.
Trustee.
I just want to say thanks to Dawn and Carol. Every time something like this comes up, especially when it comes to the finances and whatnot, I always feel confident, making a vote based on their recommendation, especially. I know that they thoroughly vetted through the process, and it helps me a lot, especially the questions and your time commitment to this piece. I just want to say thank you, because every time I vote, I know that you guys have definitely gone through much more of the process than I have. So thank you guys.
The chair appreciates the committee work because that's where the committee's function really does help in that respect. I did indicate that the motion passed, did I not? Okay. Board reports. First item here regarding something that I'll ask Trustee Erickson and Barker to maybe help a little bit with here, but as indicated, and you received an email on in terms of the Community College Commission meeting, which is October 19th. And for the general public, understand that those meetings are public and open. That will be held at the Garden Inn in Laramie. You can go to the Wyoming Community College Commission website to get the exact times and the agenda that's on there if the public is interested in that. And then on October 19th also, there will be our board meeting. And at that board meeting, we'll be meeting with the advisory board from Trustee Kettle in ACC. We'll be having a joint meeting that evening in Laramie. And I think that's a wonderful time for us to get to, if we get a few minutes early, get a chance to look at the facilities over there and again, look at where these classrooms are going. I think we've been on the board long enough. I think everybody's been to Laramie and looked at that. I know one of the times there I was talking to Trustee Merrill about this, that we've got a little time lag on the 20th before the WAC Summit starts. And I was hoping and wondering if we couldn't set up a time maybe to see the high school and the facilities that will be used under the agreement that I believe is in place and up and working. Do you think we might be able to work something out of that?
We'll take a run at it. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I think that would be a great timing to do that.
I'll make it my responsibility to try to find out how many trustees might be willing to go through with that and then get back with you on time.
Chair.
Trustee Erickson.
Brad and I won't be able to attend because we'll be in the retreat for WAC.
Are you going to do the retreat on the 20th? I was not sure what date.
Well, it starts on the 19th. It's a conflict with our meeting.
Mm.
So unfortunately, Trustee Barker and I will miss the first half of that retreat. But we will have an opportunity early the following morning, I think around 7 a.m., to get an update of what happened that afternoon, that evening. And then we'll continue the rest of the day until we have our meeting with the commission. So anyway, the two of us will not be able to join you at the high school, which is fine. Not fine, but go right ahead and do it.
Okay, I was just clarifying the date. The 20th is the beginning of the SWAC Summit.
Yeah, however, that morning will be the continuance of the WAC retreat.
How soon would you guys end?
It's scheduled to be over by noon, but I'm not sure.
Maybe we could try to do something around 1, because the summit doesn't begin till 3, so we
Right.
could do something in that time frame. Okay.
Okay.
Because I'd like to very much include you on that. Okay, so you have the information on those, but I would like Trustee Erickson or Trustee Barker, if you have some additional input for us regarding
The summit?
WAC Summit.
You want me to take that?
Yes, sir.
This is our opportunity for our annual professional development. And it's one that last year we did not have because we were in a transition with the new executive director for the Wyoming Association of Community College Trustees. And this has been 2 years. And those of us that attended one 2 years ago, we all came away with a good deal of excitement and zeal for our work and so forth. So the summit this year will be on the 20th and the 21st. And they'll start at 3 p.m. on Thursday, the 20th. And we're hoping to have Governor Meade give us his thoughts about the impacts and opportunities of the economic downturn across the region. And then there's a panel. Incidentally, there's a handout that I believe everyone should have that refers to identifies the things that I'm referring to. Then there will be a dinner reception at 6 o'clock that evening. Then on Friday, we'll have a series of panels and also a keynote speaker by the name of Davis Jenkins. He's a senior research associate at the Community College Research Center in Columbia. And with the help of Dr. Shaper, we were able to obtain his service, and we're very pleased to have him. So if you are interested in attending, please advise Jennifer Thompson about your interest, and she will go ahead and register you.
Okay. As you look at those meeting times in terms of the commission meeting and then our board meeting, joint meeting with Albany County Advisory Group, and then the WAC Summit, please take a close look at that regarding your time and your wishes, and let Jennifer know how that fits for any need you might have for facilities. Okay. Anybody else want to add anything at all to that? Okay.
I would like to just say, Don, we had that wonderful meeting in June. Wasn't that sort of what this is going to be? You said we didn't have anything last year. Well, we had that wonderful meeting in June, and I felt like we got a lot out of that.
Oh, definitely. That was a superb interaction for all of us working together in a interactive way for a different type of subjects. But it certainly does relate. But what the WAC, one of the things that the Wyoming Association of Community College Trustees has as its mission is not only advocacy, but professional development. And the summit is the main thrust for that. And we haven't had one of those for 2 years. So I would think that this is going to be a very useful one for all of us to attend.
And different topic.
And different topics. Some carryover, some touches, because anything we do has a lot of interaction.
Okay. Board self-evaluation, and Trustee Merrill has been working for, I believe, 3 years you've been on this committee, have you?
Most likely.
Yeah.
I'm the evaluation queen.
And she's put up with people like Don and myself and others working with her at different times and had to deal with this. But I do want to thank you for your work on that. And let Trustee Merrill talk a little bit about that board self-evaluation.
Okay, I want to thank Ed and Don and Brad for helping me with this. The first thing I want to bring to your attention is that we have a policy 1.2.7 board self-evaluation. I don't know, Dr. Shaver, how we might change this policy, or if you do all the policies at one time, but I talked to Ed about this, and I'd like to change the way it reads, and I know we have to go through a process. But right now, number one, it says the board self-evaluation process will occur at least once per year in association with the evaluation of the president. And we evaluate our president in the spring. And I would like to change that to read, and I think Mr. Mosier concurs, that we do it at least once a year in the fall, so that we don't have quite that much work to do in the spring on all the evaluations.
Mr. Chairman, Trustee Merrill, if you could send me those changes, I would be happy to mock up the changes, and or you could.
Is that okay?
Pass them down. That's good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. And I made up, if you could take one and pass it on, please. What I'd like to do is, I think it's important to perform a self-evaluation each year of ourselves. And this year all of us have been together at least 2 years or more. And so I would rather do the evaluation now than wait till the spring when we have new trustees, because frankly, as a new trustee, I didn't know that much. And so it's very hard to rate the president or ourselves. So we decided that these are the 3 questions that we will ask ourselves. 1, do you think that what are the board's greatest strengths and what do we do well? 2, what can the board do better? And 3, describe briefly 2 major challenges, excluding budget, facing the college. If that's agreeable with this board, then I'll give one of these to you, Vicki. I'd like those evaluation questions to be answered and sent to either myself or Vicki in her office by October 10th. And then I know I didn't want this staff to have to work too hard on this because I know they're working hard on other things. I would compile the answers and send them out to the trustees. I think
That date was 10/12. What was the date you requested?
10/10.
10/10.
Trustee Merrill and I talked too, and it's really important that we have the GISS, and I know Don was given to Narcissa as the contact person. I don't know if there's been any, and I'll come back to that, Don, but
I found one.
the importance of the GISS, we had a board evaluation, so to speak, at that point, and I think pretty good, even though it had to be there was a small error on that, but with that information, we need to use it. And so I'm kind of working with Trustee Merrill, and we want to talk some more and expand that to Don and the rest of the board. But how do we take that information from the GISS and use it? Because I think it's some very good stuff, and we've used some of it, but we really need to apply that. And these 3 questions that were developed, the intent is to use those as we move forward, especially with regards, and I don't want to steal your thunder, but I think Trustee Merrill was thinking that those would be really helpful in orienting and working with the new board.
Yes.
That, here's strengths, weaknesses, and here's where the board might need to go. That would kind of lead down the path to using that information, not just collecting it, but using it.
And I think we need those question answers from the GISS to go out to the rest of the board. I don't know if they have been given to everyone. I think all of those, I think there were 5 trustees there that received that information, but there were a few that were unable to attend.
Did everyone get those?
I don't know, but Mr. Chair, one thing you might want to consider is asking for a volunteer or assigning someone to review that information that came in our self-analysis, specifically at that time, Dr. Schaefer, and see what pearls there are that we can use for ourselves. And if you'd like me to do that, I'd be volunteer. I'd be happy to do it. And if Carol would like to work with me on that, since
I
you're
think we need
chairman
to
of the
do that
evaluation committee.
Together.
It's done. You ask, you get it.
I looked through my information and, we had major glaring errors on their computing of our answers. And so I don't think I got the
You
corrected
didn't get
booklet.
the revised. I have the revised.
I have the revised.
Okay.
So we'll get those and make sure everybody's got those.
I think that would be helpful to discuss. It was one of the best meetings that I think any of us went to. I can speak for myself. One of the best meetings I've ever been to.
And there was one other thing that I know I'm going off the board, but we talked about it at that meeting there, and I hope it doesn't get lost. I may have given that to you, Carol, was the sheet, remember, where we did what we thought the role of the board was and the role of the president at that meeting. And I hope that'll become part of that orientation.
Yeah.
Or
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, in fact, we brought that back and we'll be using that tool specifically as part of the orientation process for new trustees as well. I think that tool was excellent as well.
Okay. I see you guys, you can trust you have those things, and I shouldn't second guess, but I just didn't want to see that get lost. I agree.
I think you still
People
have it.
there really thought it was worthwhile.
So is it okay that we go ahead with this timeline? because we decided that we would discuss it in November because the October meeting is quite busy and we have this other stuff we're doing in Laramie, which those in the room who want to be trustees, you can see the amount of time that we're spending, not just in one meeting a month, but we have many, many committees and some traveling that we do for self-education. Heads up.
Okay, thank you very much for your report. Was there anything else?
No, is that agreeable with this group that we do it in this way?
And Trustee Earl, I think your number 3, 2 major challenges excluding budget.
Mhm.
You know, we're so overwhelmed by the task ahead of us that it's hard to go beyond that. So that's a good charge for us.
Okay, thanks, Don. So
Appreciate it.
we'll talk about this in the November meeting, and I don't think I have that on here.
And people will get send the stuff to you and you're gonna take care of it.
Or Vicky, and she can send it to me,
Yes.
whatever. Is that okay, Vicky? Thank you.
Okay. All right. Finance and Facilities Committee. And by golly, we get a chance for Trustee Erickson.
Would you like to start or you want me to?
You're the best. You start and you finish.
Well, I won't finish. I'll start. Well, as I indicated earlier, we had quite a review of the classification and compensation study. We spent a total of an hour reviewing that, and it was quite informative. And as I indicated earlier, I'm impressed with the caliber of the people that we have doing this job. As far as the building forward updates, we are in the flex tech, so I guess we can kind of knock that off of building updates. We don't need to talk about that anymore. Those who are candidates, if you have an opportunity to go through our new flex tech building, and you haven't done it, please do that. You'll be very, very pleased with that facility. In regard to the Pathfinder building, they hope to begin moving people in the first week of December. And I asked, are there any major headaches? And the answer was there are no major headaches at this time. I guess it all depends on how you define a major headache, but no major headaches. And the pet project, Trustee Merrill, the wayfinding is moving along, but not as quickly as we would like it to move along. We still have about 2/3 of all the wayfinding signs, both outside and inside, to be completed. There is optimism that it will be completed by the 31st of October. That's, we'll see. We're hopeful. We dealt with the Albany County campus expansion project, which we moved on at this meeting. And then we reviewed our financial statements for the month and the procurement and contracting report. Everything was in order. Trustee Merrill, did you have anything to add?
No, thank you.
Then I'll make a motion to approve the financial statements for August and the procurement and contracting report.
I'll second that motion.
Any other discussion, questions? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Hearing none, this motion passes. Thank you for your work on the F&F. Ex officio trustee updates. It's a pleasure to hear from first Trustee Kittle.
Thank you, Mr.
Cable,
Chairman.
I'm sorry. I like to do it the other way, don't I? Smack.
That's all right. Dr. Malm has informed me that the advisory group, the Albany County Advisory Group, met, I think, last Friday. And it's the second time they've met this summer. And there looks like there's going to be good attendance for the joint meeting come on October the 19th. And I believe one of the advisory board members, Rick Massey, who is a trustee at the University of Wyoming, will be joining us as well. So hopefully we'll get some University of Wyoming.
Is that Mike or Rick?
Mike
Mike.
Massey.
Mike.
Mhm.
Yeah, excellent.
So I think, yeah, that would be a good joint meeting among this board and Albany County Board. So, and I want to thank you for your support on the expansion of Albany County campus. I think those two rooms are going to be in addition to our campus and our students. Thank you very much. The idea about the high school, I think Mr. Chairman's a great idea, especially in light of our MOU agreement between the Albany County School District and us to kind of tour the automotive technology area, as well as I think we're doing some things even in nursing and a little bit of EMT, is it? That's, Dr. Mom, is that about? Okay, for that's beginning. I would like to, Lisa Murphy and her group does such a great job in being able to market and advertise. And I think there's hopefully some enrollment growth opportunities there. And maybe if we can, I know Lisa's awful busy, but if we can look down the road to kind of help market and really advertise that joint effort, I think maybe we might have get some additional enrollment kinds of enrollment growth and ways to maybe look again at maybe our revenue side to the budget. But I think there's some opportunities. I know Lisa's awful busy, but there was one article in the paper about it. Dr. Malm was quoted. I think it was well done, but I think if we can maybe put some more emphasis in that area and advertise that, I think that's a great win-win for the college and for the Albany County campus. Let's see. I think that's about the extent. Right now, Dr. Malm, do you have anything else you'd like to add to the? But looking forward to the October 19th meeting. Again, we appreciate you taking the time. And Mr. Chairman, you mentioned that the public is also invited to the meetings, the trustee meetings that are going on and so forth. Would I be able to attend some of that, or is that pretty much just strictly trustee only for the WAC? Is it the
I would
WAC Summit and so forth?
I want Erickson to answer that.
Oh, you're invited.
Well, I'm not sure how that
Oh.
reads, how strong it is with either trustee or ex officio trustee. So
You're part of us.
well, thank you, but I want to make sure that
Very much so.
there is.
You're in.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Trustee Cato, just let me know, or we'll get Jennifer to get you registered for whichever activities that you want to be. There'll be faculty and staff and students and other folks there. We'd love to have you participate.
Well,
Yeah.
Just wanted to double check, make
Yeah,
sure.
and the
how that
public
works.
in general, if there were other folks who might like to attend that, they can go to the WACC.org, WACCT.org site, and there's registration information they can go to from there. They have to click on another one to go somewhere else, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Mr. Chair, couldn't Jennifer register him for us?
Yep, that's what I'm suggesting.
Dr. Schaefer said that.
Did you see this?
I did, yeah. Just wanted to double check. Thanks.
So,
Thank you.
any questions for Trustee Cato?
Mr. Chairman, I have one, or maybe it's a question for you all. As we look forward to that meeting with the advisory board, Butch, do you or any of the trustees have recommendation for how you would like to see that program? Do you want it just to be open and free-flowing conversation, or are there specific things you'd like Dr. Malm and I to perhaps present or talk about with the advisory board and the trustees? And perhaps you don't have to answer that now if you don't want to, but to let us know so we can appropriately prepare for it.
It's a great opportunity to.
The only thing I'd throw in there is just the idea of some of the programming regarding what's now offered, what might be looked toward, or how we decide what we offer there at ACC.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just piggyback on that a little bit. We're going to have a dinner before the trustee meeting, right?
Correct.
At which time we'll have the opportunity to have a dialogue. Would it be beneficial for
an overview of what we're doing here at LCCC for your advisory council, and also, what we're doing there as well. So I think maybe some type of an orientation for the advisory committee of LCCC.
I'm gonna bounce back, but I'm just wondering, what would they want?
Yeah. Maybe if, take a moment, we can get back to kind of see if there's some agenda items that they would like, maybe master plan or just something that specifically that they would like to, really like to engage with this board. So, okay.
And just for clarification, when I read, I guess I'm jumping ahead down to 11 a little bit here, but it fits with this. And Lori Nichols, the president, Nichols is going to be there also with the.
I haven't heard that confirmation. James, have you gotten confirmation that she will be, or?
Chairman Roger, trustees, President Schaefer. Lori Nichols is an ex officio and she's invited. But we work so closely with Ann Alexander, who's Associate Vice President and a regular member of the board, as well as Mike Massey, who's a regular member, that she doesn't accept the invitations.
Okay.
But she is invited.
And Mr. Chair, I wonder if we could have a roster of the advisory committee ahead of time, so we know who the individuals are.
Sure, bylaws, membership list, I get them to Vicky.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Trustee Kettle? I'm gonna call you a kettle before. You're gonna throw me in a kettle. Remember, it's the car you drive that I like. No other questions. Move to our new ex officio trustee, and Mr. Wilkerson. What would you like to share with us this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I get started with what I have to share with you guys, I'd like to thank you and the trustees for giving me such a nice welcome on the board. It should be a great year. It's actually an honor to be a part of this with you guys. So surprised that I won't forget. So a couple of things here. Student government is holding elections right now for campus-wide to try to get more students involved in our leadership positions. So at the end of the year, you can have a new one of me here.
Okay.
We actually have 6 positions open, which is a substantial number. We usually only have 2 around this time of year to hire on. So quite substantial.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
When you say hire on, does that mean you elect them and they also receive some scholarship money if you serve as SGA on SGA?
Okay, so they get elected by the student body. We hold elections and the students come. We don't get a vote. People are residents that are already on student government. So they come, we try to bring the student body in and vote online. They do get a stipend for up to $600 a semester, but you also have to perform 2 hours of desk shift a week, 10 hours of community services semester, and attend mandatory Tuesday, Thursday SGA meetings from 12:15 to 1 to receive your stipends.
That's good knowledge. Thank you.
Another thing coming up next month in October is the Wyoming Leadership Conference from October 6th to 8th. The topic around it is diversity. We're trying, what we want the colleges to leave here with is to be able to develop a better understanding about the diversity, not just race or gender like everyone thinks just diversity is. We also want them to start doing working class, middle class, high class, and disability. People with disabilities also have a diverse group too that we don't always welcome in, that we're trying to open up the door to. But I also have a question for the chair and the trustees from the student government. With the budget cuts, what roles would you like us in student government to play or take in presenting ideas, reviewing ideas, and communicating with the students of Montgomery County Community College?
I would really appreciate it if you would, you could email me that question or give to Vicki or Dr. Schaefer and share that with the trustees and give us a chance to think about it, and we'll kind of get some input back for you for, I'm going to say we're going to try hard to answer that question by the next board meeting. If not before, we can share it with you by email, but we'll get that response back from the board members.
Can I bring this to you Friday when I have my meeting with you, Mr. Schaefer?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Trustee Wilkerson, by all means, bring that to us. And then we can talk too, and you may know about this already, about some of the other opportunities that the two committees are doing to engage students. In fact, both committees have either hit me up or the bookstore up for gift certificates to motivate individuals, specifically students, faculty, and staff, to submit ideas. And so to the best ideas, those that either generate the most revenue or save the most money through efficiency, will actually be rewarded with these gift certificates. And I know those surveys, and I think they're doing some focus groups as well, are intended to engage students in this. So that's one idea, but certainly on Friday when we meet with student government leadership and you, we can talk about this a little bit more. So we'll get it out to you, and
Trustees look forward to receiving that and then get a response back. And if we can kind of compile something before the next meeting, although we would talk about it then, but given the essence of time, we'll try to get a response back to some degree before that. Trustee Erickson.
I would encourage us to handle this particular request sooner rather than later. You're going to be meeting with Dr. Schaefer, and I would think that would be the beginning of that type of dialogue. And the sooner the students are involved, the better in this whole process. As you indicated, there are two committees now that it certainly would be appropriate for a student to at least be there officially as an observer, if not a participant. And secondly, to communicate. I think there's an important opportunity here to not only communicate to us, but back to the student body what's going on, so that the students are kept in the loop right from the get-go.
I think part of that is the administration, Dr. Schaefer through the staff, are working with the students. This, if I understood, is really directed what the board, what you'd like us as a board to see how we might use you guys, right?
Yes, sir.
Or involve you, I shouldn't say use you. Involve in the process. And so I agree that's why I'm a little concerned about time frame. Once we get it, I hope you'll respond. I'll kind of pick on the fellow trustees to get a response back, and then informally maybe get some information back, but I'd like to at the next board meeting have a response for you formally.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
I would like to just have you introduce yourself in terms of major, where you're from, your career goals.
So once again, my name is Garrett Wilkerson. I am actually from a small town called Bonanza, Oregon. My major is automotive technology, which I graduated last year. I'm still here to finish up my associate's degree in applied science. And then after the summer, I think I'm moving up with some friends in Riverton, working for a while, and then we're going to figure it out from there.
So you kind of like Wyoming a little bit.
It's just a long drive back and forth.
I tried. We're trying to keep you young folks.
Maybe more trees.
Well, and Mr. Chairman, it's nice. So I've gotten to know Garrett over the last year and a half. It can't be almost 2 years, but a year and a half, and it's been nice to see him sort of step into these leadership positions and grow as a young man, and nice to see him at the table as the ex officio. I've had a chance to play him in pool, and I can't remember who won that game. I don't remember, but you've got another great representative in this ex officio, and I just want to remind you how great it is that you formed this opportunity in this position for a student to sit at the table with you as a peer and provide that type of feedback, and it's really a nice connection to students. So congratulations for being there, Garrett, and thank you to the board for giving the opportunity for students.
Mr. Chairman. That's what we're all about around here.
And I appreciated sitting with you at our meal. it's unusual for an automotive student, a diesel or automotive, to step up to this. You don't see them running for political office. You see them at night fixing their own cars. So I really admire you for doing this. You just go.
Thank
It's
you.
really nice to know you.
If you go back home, it's a little too late, but you could always make points bringing blackberries back. Anyway, thank you. Appreciate it. We look forward to working with you this year. Next item is new business, and I really do not have any new business. Excuse me, Trustee Merrill.
This may not be new business, but I am just wondering, and I'm sorry I put you on the spot because I don't think this is really your job, Garrett. But we usually have a forum around here that is done by, I can't remember, it seemed like students or Jason or Pasquale, a forum for the people running for the Board of Trustees position. And it's usually done here at the college. And it's one planned is my question.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
Oh.
can we call on our Wingspan student to maybe give an update? Yeah, the Wingspan is working with the Tribune Eagle for a forum to come up. No, yes, you want to?
We are hosting an event for both the candidates for the trustees, which I believe will be at 5:30 on October 4th.
Okay.
And that will be followed by a mayoral debate at 7 o'clock. So yes, we are hosting that, co-sponsored by the Tribune Eagle.
And will it be here or somewhere else?
This will be in the Centennial Room.
A Centennial Room?
Yes.
At what time?
Starting at 5:30 on Tuesday, October 4th.
Okay, that's perfect.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys doing that. I think it's very.
I have a comment under,
Trustee
not under
Erickson.
new business, but it's a delight to have the senior partner of Woodhouse. Kay. It's good to be here. And I have to tell you that to some extent, I'm kind of happy to see you here because my foot's not hurting. That's an inside story. Has Tara told you about that?
No.
When she thinks I'm talking too much, she hits me.
No, she didn't tell me that.
No, that's not sexual harassment. I'll be careful.
I suppose, again, I'll take liberties and say, did not your firm receive recognition?
We did. We won an award last week at the Wyoming State Bar for our pro bono work that we've done. We host three times a year. We do a free clinic night, and then we take on pro bono cases for people that need it. So yeah.
And you're going to take us on pro bono?
I don't want you to get any ideas.
There is a magazine.
Afternoon.
Yeah.
Trustee Dubois.
There's a magazine called Women of Wyoming, and there's a huge, nice article about Gay in that, and a lot of other people, a lot of other women that, and a whole list of businesses throughout the state of Wyoming that are owned by women.
Nice.
It's a very interesting magazine.
Thank you, and
Nice.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Under additional items, I don't think we want to do that, but next meeting events, is there anything else on those meeting events that you have questions or concerns about under item 11?
Well, I do.
Yes, Bill.
I just was wondering if there was somebody who would be driving to go over to the Wednesday night meeting and coming back to Cheyenne and going to the Friday morning meeting. And of course, coming back after that. Or is everybody staying over there?
I'm staying.
And I'm planning on staying at this point.
Mr. Chairman, we'll work with Jen and Vicky and find out what folks' travel plans are. I know, Garrett, we were looking at getting you a ride over there too for the meeting. So let us see what the travel plans are for the members of the board, and we'll see if we can't figure out a ride for you, Bill.
That would be very nice. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Public comment. Does anyone wish to comment? Chance at the microphone. Okay, hearing none. I would entertain a motion
I would like to move that we move into executive session to to discuss private gifts and a legal matter.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, and I appreciate the public, all of you being here tonight.
Apparently we'll have to sign this